What is good, YouTube? My name is Ash Porter and welcome to the channel, and today's book vlog is this bad boy, Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. Yes, I've never read a Dan Brown book. For so long I've heard them talked about, especially, the Da Vinci Code. That's like the really famous one. I think actually I've watched the film of this ages ago, because they made the Da Vinci Code, then they made this one, and then more recently they made one of the other ones, right? I don't know. I don't know it very well, but all I know is it's a 5-part series. It's pretty famous. Some people love Dan Brown, some people don't. I noticed for books that are pretty famous, they haven't got amazing ratings on Goodreads. Like, I would say a good book normally has a 4+ rating on Goodreads, whereas all his books are floating around a 3.7, around that mark. I know it's only a little bit below, but it matters, So I'm really interested to see what these are like, because like I said, growing up, I heard so much about them. I heard controversy, I heard people love them. In terms of, I think they're really interesting books, because from what I understand, they have an interesting relationship with faith, or particularly the Catholic Church. So I don't belong to the Catholic Church, but I also am interested in it. So I'm interested to see what he writes about, what theories, conspiracies he comes up with, how it all interlinks and it kind of plays out. Going into this again, I mean, I kind of remember the Da Vinci Code, but this isn't the Da Vinci Code. That's actually the second book in the series. But I don't really remember this one. All I know is it does involve the Vatican. I've kind of read the blurb a little bit, and some professor which turns into like a superhero. Well, not literally, but he's all about him saving the day, saving the world against, that's it, the Illuminati. That's what it's all about. Yes, that organization of rich people who control the world. So there you go, that shows how little I know about this book. I am dead excited as usual to jump into it. It's quite a short, it's quite little, this book, just in comparison to my head. Like, I was surprised when it turned up. Maybe it's just this version, diddy little thing, but relatively thick, like 500 odd pages, yeah. So let's see how it goes. I'm 30 pages in, and this is feeling a lot like X-Men. Some like super jet where he can go from America to Switzerland in like an hour, and then he turns up at this the labs, and some dude in a wheelchair rolls out. It's like Professor X and the flipping X-Men jet or whatever it's called. Like, what is going on? I think what I need to work out, or I'm gonna assume, is that there's a really good mix of reality in terms of it's based in our world, in our reality, but also a healthy dose of a bit of fantasy fiction added into it with things, maybe some of the technology, things like that. But interesting so far. So I'm just over 100 pages deep, and I'm wondering, is this assassin, has he stolen this antimatter, the big bit of antimatter which was meant to be in the sub bit that the girl, what's her name, Victoria, and her dad had lied about, and he's stolen it, and he's going to use it as a bomb to blow up. And the guy who heads up CERN says it could blow up everything in a half-mile radius. But what's he blowing up? Is he blowing up CERN, or is he blowing up a church or some kind of religious organization? I'm so interested what's happening. Now, this is probably an easy guess, or maybe it isn't. Maybe I'm being led to the obvious choice, but I'm on about page 200 right now. We've just had the phone call from the assassin guy, and they're just working out what the hell to do. And my guess is this head of security, head of the Swiss Guard, Olivetti. I'm sorry if that's probably not how you pronounce it, but my guess is that he is probably working for the Illuminati. So he just kind of reeks of not really wanting to do anything, and he's one of their examples of infiltrating high places. And yeah, I'm gonna guess that. I'm about 220 pages in, right? And Robert Langdon is yet to prove his value to me. I think he's about to, because I think he's finally about to start working out what the hell is going on, go around finding these 4 churches and trying to save the cardinals and the Vatican. But For 220 pages, he seemed like a bit of a bystander so far, but I'm sure, I trust that he's going to become a better character. I hope. I think what's also really standing out to me as I'm reading this is how clever Dan Brown must be. Like, I don't know what he is, what he did before writing fiction, all this kind of stuff, but he just must be a really clever guy, because there's a lot of just language stuff, math stuff, science stuff, just really clever stuff in here. You know, it's one thing to write historical fiction, it's one thing to write fantasy, like, but then to write something like this that's almost like modern day, but add some an incredible high level of like academic stuff. And yeah, Dan Brown must be a baller, or he's just making it up and someone's probably fact checked this and being like, he was just chatting absolute grease. But I feel like Dan Brown must be pretty clever. One thing that Angels and Demons really does have going for it right now is that it just has me on the edge of my seat the whole time. You know, ever since they got to the Vatican, I've literally just been so drawn in, just like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen? How's it going to happen? Right now, they're trying to find this stupid church to try and stop the first cardinal getting killed. They went to the wrong place. Now they've worked out the second one, they've snuck in. And I'm about to find out whether they can stop it or whether this assassin guy gets away, and they obviously continue the chase. I'm going to imagine it's that one because I'm only barely halfway through the book, but it has me on the edge of my seat. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's good fun. This book is getting so intense. It's just showing me how little I remember from watching the Angels and Demons film. But also, what's occurred to me is that this whole book, I'm like 360 pages in or something like that, and it's happened within a matter of hours. Like, the time frame this book takes place in is so small, which means it's so intense, so fast paced. I'm really enjoying it. I gotta say, I haven't read it loads. I've just been, you know, when you're just not quite in the mood to read a lot. I've been a bit like that recently, so it's taken me a while to get through it, but I am really enjoying it. And the Illuminati have just claimed that they're the ones who killed the Pope, that they poisoned him. This assassin has like been in contact with this BBC reporter, and it's all so clever. And now they've got 2 cardinals dead, the Pope dead, and now they've got to try and save 2 cardinals still, and basically the population of the Vatican, because the Swiss Guard seem to be being really stubborn and don't want to just evacuate. Suspicious. The assassin has got Vittoria. The 3rd cardinal has just been roasted alive, basically. This is getting a bit grim. It's getting a bit like intense. I literally cannot predict what's going to happen. Surely they're going to catch this guy, but I feel like because there's more books, you know, they're not going to find the guy behind the Illuminati behind it, if that makes sense. But Robert Langdon's story is probably going to continue, but this is getting intense. I think Robert's literally just about to escape from the assassin. I imagine. I'm not sure they're going to let him get captured as well. I'm still predicting that I forgot his name, the head of the Swiss Guard, he's in on it. I'm convinced. That speech, I'm sorry for actually butchering this, Karmalengo, you know who I mean, that he just did in front of the BBC News reporters and all the rest of the cardinals and stuff, and wow. Like, I think what was really interesting is, as a Christian, I was reading that, I was like, gosh, this is incredible. Like, what he's saying is amazing. And for Dan Brown to come up with that, who, from what I understand, he's like, I think he was an atheist and then he's a Christian, like, or was a Christian and then was an atheist and now is like working it out. I'm not really sure what he was at the time writing this, but I'd be really interesting to know, like, from a non-Christian perspective, those who maybe don't believe in God, what that speech made you think, because I just sat there like in awe of it. As usual, when it comes to my guesses, I think I was wrong. I think the chief of the Swiss Guard wasn't a bad guy, and I think he was killed by the assassin during the fire bit. This is pretty intense. They've just managed to kill the assassin. I'm so impressed with Robert Langdon. He's managed to do it. But they just revealed that there's a sixth brand and that someone is Yanis, the head of the Illuminati, or someone who's acting for the Illuminati, is coming to kill someone now with it. And it feels like if it's Kola, the guy in the wheelchair from the start, the head of CERN, I feel like that's way too obvious. But it might be him, because it also makes sense, the head of CERN, the head of scientific research. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I'm really disappointed it was Kola, or whatever his name is. Kola. Yeah. And we find out that he was just trying to get revenge for the fact his parents prayed instead of getting scientific help from when he was a kid. Yes, he was left paralysed. He nearly died. That's horrific. There can be no denying that. But to decide I'm going to take revenge on the whole of the Catholic Church because of his parents' actions seems a bit out of proportion, if I'm being honest. However, I am enjoying it, and I'm interested to see the last sort of 80 pages or so how Victoria and Robert Langdon kind of recover this. How do they recover? How do they stop the antimatter? What's the solution to this final problem? So the Karmalengo, or however you say his flipping name, was just saving the day. You know, he was about to be the hero. You know, he'd heard this vision from God. He went and got the antimatter, played this role, right? And then he goes up in the helicopter. Robert Langdon's like, oh, I can tell him, I can drop it for him, I can help. Takes him up. He just flies straight up instead of going out to the ocean. And then he locks the canister in the thing, grabs the parachute and jumps out, leaving Robert, in the helicopter to die. What an absolute pagan. What a villain. Yes, he may have just got rid of the antimatter, but... And my question is, right, is this all going to be a ploy? And did Kola tell him this stuff and he was just going to fake it to, be the hero? Do you know what I mean? He's meant to be the hero, and now, in my head, he's become a bit of a villain. Good writing. Very good writing. A nice little twist. Is he still alive? Because he just, set fire to himself on the top of somewhere for everyone to see. But they didn't find any remains. Is he still alive? Is he going to come back? Is he going to be in some of the next books? How do you survive that, though? Also, I have to say now, what a twist. What a twist. What a twist. It got me good. I knew Kola was the easy option, and this was a quality book, so Dan Brown got me good. He got me good. And there we go. I've finished it. A bit of late night reading done. Wow. Robert Langdon gets his reward after, hard, probably 24 hours of work. He gets his reward of a young Italian yoga master. Quite literally nailed it. Well, there we go. Angels and Demons by Dan Brown. This was a really good book. I knew it was going to be good. I expected that, but it actually caught me off guard, especially the sort of the twists and turns of the last 200 pages. It was really, really, really fun to read. I think what makes this book really good, and the way I enjoyed it, is that, there's big faith-driven themes in this book. That interests me. As a Christian, it interests me. I'm not put off by it. It doesn't offend me. And actually what I think Dan Brown does really good in this book is he doesn't pick a side. He doesn't pick between science and religion, which, I think anyway, they can go together. He doesn't pick between atheism and religion. He doesn't make one seem worse than the other. Actually, in sort of the ending of the book, it kind of shows that humanity is flawed, And so no matter the endeavour, whether it starts from a good place, humanity is broken, flawed, we make mistakes, we let power get to us, we hurt and we hate and we do things wrong. And that's just a reality of being human. So any religion, whatever this situation is with God, whatever you believe in, as any human endeavour in a religion or a scientific endeavour or whatever it is, there's going to be flaws because of the humanness in us. And I think that's the really important message, that there isn't a right or wrong in this. We all do, all these groups, these parties have done horrific stuff. All these parties have a tainted legacy. All these, there's no doubt that the Catholic Church, just the church as a whole, it has a bad history. There are bad people within it, but that doesn't make the whole institution bad. And it's exactly the same in terms of this scientific community, places like CERN. Yes, there may be bad individuals within it, but actually as a whole, that doesn't make it bad. And I think that's what we need to hold on to. And that's a life lesson, isn't it? Don't judge a whole institution, a whole organisation, a whole faith movement or religion based on the actions of one or two individuals. That's what I think this book portrays really well. And actually, he just portrays the brokenness of humans, but also the incredible capacity of humanness, the incredible capacity to sacrifice, to love, that our brains are incredible, the way that, we have scientists probably in real life like these guys who can create the most incredible stuff through their research and what they have devoted their life to. And I think this is just an absolute brilliant book, full of twists and turns. It's exciting, it's got great characters, and I love the fact that a whole, nearly 600-page book can take place within 24 hours. Like, that's how fast-paced it is. It makes it such an exciting read. I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait for the rest of these books. The Da Vinci Code I will be reading some point in the near future, and then we'll crack on with the rest as well. I've been Ash Porter. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time.